Victor Newman, Eric Braden, is seeking retribution against what seems like half of Genoa City's population in Young and the Restless, and he's just being annoying all the time. Someone must stop him. We will discuss why Victor has to be shut down, why he deserves some comeuppance, and why he needs karma. Victor's most recent, absurd grudge against Jack Abbott, Peter Birdman, is the primary reason he must be eliminated. Victor has been completely enraged with Jack for almost a year. Victor often complains that Jack endangered the life of Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, which is absurd. Jack did not endanger Nikki's life in any way. When Nikki was going crazy, Jack actually put his life and sobriety in danger to save her. The fact that he put his life in danger for Nikki even infuriated Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, and she admits that's exactly what happened. Victor's baseless charges against Jack are not shared by any Newman, particularly Nikki. Victor is literally the only person in Genoa City who believes this. He has created an excuse to despise Jack. He seems to have conjured up this flimsy justification out of thin air. In terms of the plot, Victor was upset because Jack rescued Nikki when Victor was unable to. Since Victor knew Nikki was cheating, he kept alcohol in the house, which allowed her to get wasted at home. After Jordan Howard, Colleen Zenk, pushed Nikki off the wagon, Victor refused to send her to rehab. Victor kept refusing to let Nikki leave, even though everyone knew she had to. Even Victor's children have stated that he is incorrect to despise Jack for this tenuous cause. Victor is upset with himself, even though he wouldn't acknowledge it if we were to delve into his character psychology. However, we believe it's simply poor Young and the Restless writing. The fact that Victor has returned and destroyed Billy Abbott's, Jason Thompson, life is the second reason why people are so fed up with him and his never-ending grudge. Victor's desire to use Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, to help kill Billy is even worse because Billy is the father of two of Victoria Newman's, Amelia Heinel, children, Victor's grandkids. This is complete craziness. Victor, however, always pursues Billy. Even though Billy hasn't done anything to deserve it, he has been doing it for ages. Although Victoria detests this aspect of her father, he refuses to change. Billy was managing Chancellor and mostly keeping to himself. Because he could, Victor simply chose to be a jerk and take it away. He used a lot of deceit, cunning, and shady tactics to get that away from Billy. Of course, even if Billy is happy, Victor will never be content. It's not like we're Team Billy. This iteration of the character doesn't really appeal to us. We think this depiction of him is troublesome, but we adored the Billy Miller version. However, since we aren't now on Team Victor, we will take Billy above Victor for the time being. Although we don't believe Billy can defeat Victor by himself, we do believe Kane could assist Billy in doing so. On Young and the Restless, Victor has to be held accountable. Victor constantly messes up his family's lives because he believes he knows better than them, which is another reason he needs a smack from karma. Victor was out there attempting to shatter the heart of his granddaughter. Haley Aaron's character Claire Grace Newman is a plight. She was completely content and loved Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer. But Victor believed Claire shouldn't be with him as Kyle is Jack's son. Victor therefore engaged Zuleika Silver's character Audra Charles to disband them in the most obscene manner possible. Claire's situation was similar to Victor's previous plots in that Victoria interfered with her romantic life. Victor also substantially disrupted the lives of Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, all the while claiming to know better. On Young and the Restless, Nikki is always forced to support and shield Victor. We believe that it should be Nikki and the children who hold Victor accountable, remove him from his position as CEO of Newman, and force him to retire, and leave inheritance to the children. Naturally, though, they won't. The fact that Victor is such a negative influence on so many people is the second reason he must be removed. The weird thing is that, except for him, the Newmans are getting along just great. Adam's siblings have finally embraced him. With all that rage, he is no longer the black sheep that was shunned. He's getting along well with Nick. And amazingly, Adam and Victoria have developed a true bond. Claire has become a part of the family. Everyone is close to her. Every child is content. Unless Victor was a vindictive jerk, everything would be fine. With no plans for retaliation or cunning, the children may be operating Newman Enterprises with great joy. Picture the Newmans being content and relaxed. That may not be particularly soap operatic, but Victor is the one causing stress for everyone and fueling the drama, and not in a positive or well-written way. Without Victor, Nick and Adam could definitely manage Kane's danger. We believe that without Victor's meddling, every child would perform incredibly well. He must leave. His behavior on Young and the Restless is out of control. By the way, he has a negative influence on Michael Baldwin, Christian Jules Leblanc, as well as almost everyone he encounters. The supporters are the last reason Victor needs to be knocked off his high horse. A significant portion of the individuals we observe on social media for soap operas are fed up with Victor's behavior. It all comes down to bad writing because the plot is nonsensical. He has a messy motivation for the most recent vendetta. It simply isn't logical. Josh Griffith has damaged this character for Young and the Restless as well. Of course, Victor has a history of villainy, which is perfectly acceptable as long as it's written effectively. The entire plot between Jack and Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, where Victor brought Marco in after kidnapping Jack and put Marco in his place, was one particularly evil plot that we remember that was extremely well written, despite the fact that it was simply mad. Additionally, Phyllis was unaware that she had a stranger in her bed. Though Victor was acting in such a horrible manner, the writing was fantastic. Though warped, the reasons were reasonable. There was also a logical flow. In this instance, it seems irrational and poorly written to us. Fans are also irritated. We do believe that Kane would be a strong pick to take down Victor and deliver him that karmic slap. His own family ought to do it, but they refuse to. Kane, however, has a wealth of resources. He's also prepared to play dirty. There are numerous causes for this, many of which we mentioned. Victor needs to exact revenge from the new guy who has returned to town, among other reasons you can surely think of. It won't last even if Kane defeats Victor. No one can ever fully demolish the great Victor, and that is not what we want. But perhaps he won't always be a complete jerk if he gets a big, huge reality check and is knocked down about 5 pegs. Possibly Kane will do it. Victor needs to change in some way. The Titans, the individuals who hold the highest positions of authority in Genoa City, have shaped the Young and the Restless for many years. Victor Newman, the unwavering patriarch whose history spans boardrooms, families, betrayals, and battles that have molded the soap opera's very DNA, is seated at the summit of that mountain. However, there has been an indisputable change as time has gone on, and younger generations have struggled for their own position in the spotlight. The world that Victor Newman once dominated is no longer as simply yielding to his will. Could Victor's demise finally be imminent? And above all, ought it to be? Let's examine why this could be the ideal time for the mustache to finally fall apart. In the history of soap operas, Victor Newman's legacy is indestructible. He is the vicious tycoon who used blood, sweat, and plenty of deceit to establish Newman Enterprises. As a monarch who views family and business as pawns on his chessboard, he has exiled adversaries, destroyed rivals, and planned aggressive takeovers. Victor always had the advantage, thus this worked for years. Victor flourished in power, whether he was battling Jack Abbott, defending Nikki, or controlling his kids. He was powerful not only because of his company, but also because of the dread he inspired. Jack, his enduring competitor, has acknowledged that defeating Victor is all but impossible. However, soap operas benefit greatly from change. No dynasty can last indefinitely without opposition. Victor's kingdom is beginning to show signs of weakness, and the once unstoppable patriarch is facing both internal and foreign pressures. The generational change occurring in Genoa City is among the strongest arguments for why it's time for Victor to go. Adam, Victoria, Nick, Abby, Summer, and even Kyle are among the characters vying for the position at the head of the table. Every action his kids take has been clouded for years by Victor's presence. Victoria's influence clashes with Victor's veto. Adam's father's drive to dominate him continuously stifles his freedom. When Nick tries to escape, devotion and remorse pull him back. Abby's spirit of entrepreneurship is frequently diminished to family politics. Their arcs have been stifled by Victor's fixation on holding on to power. How many times have we witnessed Victoria establish her worth just to have Victor challenge her authority? How often has Adam been given the opportunity to succeed just to have it ruined because Victor doesn't believe in him? The Newman kids are now major players rather than merely supporting characters. And whether he wants to or not, the patriarch who has been controlling them must eventually relax his hold in order for them to develop fully. The Young and the Restless has subtly addressed Victor's health issues in recent years, and soap opera narratives frequently reflect reality. We've seen glimmers of a man who is not impervious to the passing of time, whether it's his unusual blood condition or his vulnerable moments. Victor has always had a commanding presence and the ability to outmaneuver anyone. However, the one enemy he cannot outsmart is mortality. Cracks start to appear in his meticulously built foundation as the Newman family rushes to defend the empire whenever his health falters. If the authors decide to focus on this issue, Victor's health may end up being the cause of his demise, not a dramatic death, but a gradual loss of control. Imagine Victor being forced to watch as his own body betrays him, not enemies, but his empire slips through his grasp. Soaps are made for tragedies like that. It would be impossible to describe Victor's demise without looking at his most complex offspring, Adam Newman. Though he lacks the same degree of self-control, Adam possesses Victor's drive, intelligence, and brutality. Adam has resented his father and yearned for his acceptance for years. Victor keeps drawing Adam back into his orbit despite the fact that this poisonous cycle has fostered betrayal after betrayal. But what if Adam turns things around at last? What if Victor's biggest downfall is orchestrated by the son who has been undervalued and rejected? The irony would be Shakespearean. His own blood and blood, who learnt strategy and cunning at his feet, undid Victor, not Jack or his commercial rivals. Adam just needs to wreck Newman Enterprises and take back his father's throne. He doesn't have to physically ruin Victor's life. Additionally, the foundation has already been laid. Adam is smart, connected, and has a cold streak of ambition. Adam might become the legitimate heir and eventually overthrow his father if Victor continues to underestimate him. Jack Abbott is the one who should have a front-row ticket to Victor's demise. A decades-long conflict characterized by corporate conflicts, personal tragedies, betrayals, and moments of grudging respect. Their rivalry is legendary in soap operas. Jack has been pursuing Victor's shadow for years, but his current trajectory has changed. In his personal life, Jack has discovered greater stability, maturity, and serenity. He is no longer here to ruin Victor. And for that reason, it would be poetic if he were the one to conquer him in the end, not out of obsession, but rather power. Jack merely needs to take away Victor's one defining characteristic: control of Newman Enterprises, instead of destroying him personally. Jebot defeating Newman would represent not only Jack's success, but also the unavoidable collapse of a fear-based kingdom. Of course, Victor's demise would not be complete without considering Nikki Newman's part. She has been his partner in peace and conflict, his love, and the one who has both supported and pushed him. Nikki has supported Victor's decisions for years, even when they caused others to fail. However, as she gains confidence in herself, she can no longer stand his machinations. Nikki is now a force to be reckoned with, not just the forgiving wife or the damsel in distress. Think of Nikki as the one who leaves when Victor is at his lowest. Not because she no longer loves him, but rather because she will no longer participate in his demise. More painful than any financial loss would be the betrayal of his greatest ally.